Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. This is the meeting of the Mashpee Sewer Commission on Thursday, April 17th, 2025. We are convening at 2 o'clock in the afternoon at Mashpee Town Hall in the Walk Point meeting room. And we're broadcast live on local channel 8 or high definition channel 1072 and live streamed over the Town of Mashpee website. Good afternoon, everybody. And may I ask you to silence your cell phones, please? That would be very helpful. And as we call the meeting to order, can I ask you to stand for a Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Put him on mute the last time.
I think you have to silence it completely.
Yeah, I gotta shut it off.
Okay. And I would like to have each of the commissioners introduce themselves. It was something that was started by Al Toole last time, or the last couple of meetings, and I think it's a lovely gesture. I'm Meredith Harris, and I'm the chair of the Sewer Commission.
Alfred Toll, Vice Chair.
Phyllis Sprout, member.
Joe Lyons.
Mohan Nair.
In our wastewater department.
Jared Meter.
Ashley Fisher.
And on Zoom, we have Catherine Castaneda.
Hi, I'm the clerk. Thanks.
Wonderful. Okay, so may I have a review of the meeting minutes and an appropriate motion if in fact you all feel that it's appropriate. These are the minutes from March 20th, but I also have to say that we have a wonderful new recording secretary for the sewer meetings named Gina Gonzalez, and she doesn't attend the meetings, but she does take our minutes. So I have to thank her as well for recording the minutes for us.
Our moment of silence was silent.
Oh, I forgot our moment of silence. So we can be silent for a moment, if you please, for as we approach some of the holidays this week, then, and also as our custom is. A moment of silence, please. Thank you. And of course, all of this is in our agenda, so of course I forgot to take a look at it and say, yes, a moment of silence. So thank you all for being forgiving. So now, may we have a review of the meeting minutes from March 20th?
I make a motion to accept them as written.
I second that.
Okay, thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes, I.
Thank you. And I as well. And we have an opportunity for public comment, if there's anyone in the audience who would like to make public comment. And I thank Select Person Colombo for attending. Do you have any comments for us this morning or this afternoon? Okay, thank you. So it will move right into, and there's no old business on the agenda at this point, but we will move right into our new business and welcome a person named Cody Erickson, who is applying for filling the sewer commission vacancy. So Cody, if you wouldn't mind coming forward and use the microphone and introduce yourself and get ready for some questions to grill you.
Hello, I'm
Hello.
Cody Erickson, and yeah, have at it.
You know, our biggest question for you is, tell us a little bit about yourself for one, and then why would you like to be a part of the sewer commission?
Well, I moved to Cape about 8 years ago, and shortly thereafter met my now wife, Amy, who grew up in Falmouth. Shortly thereafter, I moved in with her, and she lives in Mashpee. We both lived in Mashpee in Summerwood condos ever since. Through her business, I met you, Meredith, and we got to speaking on my passion for protecting waterways and the ocean and the environment, while also explaining to you my past as a surveyor for a civil engineering firm based in Southfield, Michigan, for approximately 10 years. I started as a rod man and worked my way up to instrument man, and worked hand in hand with my good friend and crew chief. And I got to learn a lot of the engineering that's going to go into this Summerwood condo, the project, and understand the cost associated with something like that. I understand the importance. I understand the elevation changes, the pumping stations. I kind of can grasp that concept, whereas maybe some of not on that side of it. And also just my passion for building, growing our towns and cities responsibly. I felt, fill this vacancy and show you that I'm a good choice.
Great. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I mean, I'm open for questions. I know it was over a year ago you mentioned that I should inquire about this, and I think it's about time, and I'm glad to come aboard if you'll have me. I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the commissioners?
Are you able to come to the meetings on a regular basis?
I believe so. Tell me again, they're not very often, correct?
It's once-
Right now, they're once a month on the third Thursday of the month at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. There had been times when we were twice a month, but right now we're once a month. But we also, as the whole wastewater system gets geared up, there may be a need for more frequent meetings, but they've never been more than twice a month.
That would definitely be something I'd be available for. Pretty open with the structure of working for my wife's business and also Uber, so I have no official 9-to-5 commitment. So
Great.
I basically create my own schedule.
Okay. Are there
That
any-
that was really my question. You can, it says here that you were an Uber driver, but I guess you're now working,
I basically am a driver for Airport Rides by Amy.
okay.
Her airport transport
So
business.
you could
library
just
business.
block out that time,
Yep, certainly.
because it's extremely important that you be at the meetings.
Certainly. And same with, Uber's just kind of like a side job, and it's literally push the button. You have no schedule, you just work when you want to work. So.
Okay.
Joe, you had a question?
Yes, have you read our 15-year plan, our 15-year-old plan?
I have not. No, I would love to.
Okay, if you go online, you'll find our, the plan for the entire water system. It was dated 2015 when it was accepted by the town and the county and the state. That in its encapsulation covers everything, and it'll give you a much better perspective on what you're getting into than any one of us could.
Right.
We all are going to live and die by that plan, so it'd be a very good idea for you to get used,
For sure.
get acquainted with it and ask questions.
Mohan, do you have any questions?
So, one thing in this responsibility is you are kind of an interface between the sewer committee and the larger community in the Mashpee town, right? How would you see yourself fulfilling that role?
Well, that's actually one of the things I thought I could help with, having, working for the civil engineering company and kind of understanding what we had laid out, and then would witness as a surveyor, we would come back for sometimes 2-year-long projects and see the companies laying out the sanitary pipes and the water mains and the storm drains, and actually building wetlands for very large community centers that took, a year and a half to build, and the stormwater runoff that they had to actually build a wetland for because it was so vast. I got to see, over months and months of staging, of going back as a surveyor and witnessing what was built, and then actually we would measure what was built to verify that it was correct. And it was just very interesting to see that long, like you said, Joe, that long vision of projects going toward a much larger vision, as you spoke of. And I would think I could kind of, like, answer your question is, explain that to someone who may not understand, certain parts of, that project, being a member or being a member of the public, and
Well, Cody, if I'm reading this right, you are part of Phase 1.
in some,
So you will have the unique opportunity to live through Phase 1 and explain to people who are anxious about how it operates.
exactly. And we've already experienced, that, and it's, I did get to see hear what a lot of people in Summerwood had to say about it, and how they just were not they couldn't understand really what the scope of that was. And, if I had the opportunity to kind of, speak to them on it, I think, I could convey, certain things like that, and, why they're ripping up the asphalt through everything, and it's going into each of our homes, and, and I feel that's important.
And one of the things that becomes important with any construction that goes on in town is being much more aware than we have been over the years on stormwater control and wastewater control. And this is a very exciting time as we get ready to open the new wastewater plant, and as we see coming to fruition this 2015 plan that's been modified several times and is now ready to go. So it's nice to have someone who's both interested and who will be experiencing it firsthand.
And actually, to answer some more insight to some of those questions, there was one question. We have a Facebook group for Summerwood condos, and I think during the construction, they had hit a breaker or something, and a worker got injured or something. And I believe one of the homeowners commented about how there was no misdig or the flagging of stuff like that. And I believe I replied that whoever was hired to do that project, the construction company, obviously worked with an engineering firm, and that engineering firm also worked with our engineering department, correct? And was stamped and signed, and it probably went back and forth many, many times between each engineer, right, and getting stamped and approved. And I explained to the homeowner that that's why they don't necessarily need to call, I don't know if it's called misdig here.
Oh, dig safe?
Big save.
Dig safe.
Yeah.
Because that's for homeowners who haven't been signed off multiple times by a city and engineering departments and stuff like that. So it's coming with that sort of knowledge and a way to convey that to the public, that, that was why there wasn't companies out marking misdig. It's like, we all had the plans and have the plans, and they've been signed off many times, and the city knows where, and accidents happen in construction, and it's a very dangerous field. So mistakes do happen, and, you shouldn't be blaming.
One of the advantages we have is that we have our on-site engineers who come to the meetings will be represented by Sandy Tripp from GHD. So whenever questions do come up about the engineering issues, we have an opportunity to talk to them firsthand, as well as a close liaisonship with the wastewater department.
And working for that company, I'd be going to the engineering departments often and asking for plans or going back 50 years and getting old blueprints. And so, yeah, I definitely understand all that. So.
Great. Do you have any questions of us?
Just
I
if there.
have a question, Meredith.
Oh, go ahead. Catherine is on Zoom. Yeah, go ahead, Catherine.
Hi, Cody. I just wanted to commend you for standing up and recognizing a good opportunity to represent your community. I think that would be helpful to have your participation. I sense that Joe's question about the 2015 plan is very important to review and get familiar with. I'd also, on the Sewer Commission's website, I wondered if you had looked at it in the last couple of months, and what your impressions of the website may have been, and in general, and note that there's an archive section with that document and many others that have come up since and before, and that have been posted for public access. There's a lot of scientific endeavors that have taken place to support decision-making over the years. I think it's important to get some background information from, because you will get questions from the public, and you want to make sure you have proper historical perspective to be able to answer those. And I just wanted you to know that there's a lot of time required to prepare for the Sewer Commission participation by reviewing those documents, and I hope you're willing to take the time to review some of them. They're pretty helpful. They were very helpful to me, and I know others. So give that a go. Do you have impressions on the website? Have you used it?
Well, actually, you just asked if I had any questions. That would be my question, is what should I research and take a look at? Because, yeah, I feel I haven't done that, research yet,
Okay.
but I'd be glad to look that over more in detail, and if you had a list or just a few things that like you just
Well,
mentioned.
I would pop into that whole website and
Right.
scroll through it. There's about 11 different subsections on the left-hand side, but a couple of them stand out. Certainly, the overview of the commission, rules and regulations will be updated, but there's certainly schedule-related construction schedule information that's updated. All the previous construction reports presented to the commission and the select board are posted there. So you can see the progress of the project since the sewer construction began, at least, recognize the schedule on Summerwood and other areas of the town. Get familiar with the mapping and where phase one actually covers, because that's an area that affects you, and certainly phase two mapping. So there's plenty to look at in addition to the archives. So enjoy. We could meet and I could walk you through it at some point. So FYI. Okay.
Thank you.
Catherine has been one of the main people who's been working with Karen Leslie, who's the administrative support person for our wastewater, and and I've done some work with them in streamlining our website because it had been kind of all over the place. But also when someone comes onto the commission, I also make it a point of sitting down with them and reviewing the website and some of the important documents, because it can be overwhelming. The numbers of documents that are in there, the numbers, like where do you start if you're just beginning? So there are opportunities to meet with one or several of us to go through what the important highlights are to know, to get started. Are there any questions, either from Jared or Ashley?
Nope. The only thing I'd like to say is if depending on how the commission approves your application, then I would welcome you on down anytime to come visit the department. We can give you an overview of what we're doing, what's going on, also give you a tour of the facilities as needed, so you can kind of learn your way around, and then from there, take off. Like most of I'll pop into the plant and I'll see somebody usually hanging out, checking things out on their own, so it's a good thing.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, are there any further questions? If they're not, just so that you know, Cody, what the process is, so we'll do a review and we need to fill out an evaluation form. And then all of those evaluation forms from each of the commissioners, then I do a summary, and then I then give it to the select board. And should it be an okay, and you're selected to move forward, then you'd be interviewed by the select board. And their meetings are twice a month now on Monday evenings at 5 o'clock. And I'm not quite sure when the next one is, but then they would put you on the agenda. Select person Colombo is here? Okay, so April 28th is the next one, and it is up to them as in terms of their agenda and when they would put you on the agenda, if in fact that would be the next step. So that's the process.
Okay, great.
And thank you so much for coming forward.
All right,
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you all.
All right,
Appreciate it.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, if we move on to the next step, we have a policy that we need to approve. And just to give a little bit of background on this, this is to review the policy on the low-pressure grinder pumps. We did have a meeting in which we rescinded a low-pressure grinder pump policy because it was too narrow. It only had to do with single-family dwellings. It didn't have to do with multiple dwelling units. And so this new grinder pump policy actually goes in line with or in conjunction with the rules and regulations that we voted on the last time. So if you have your rules and regulations with you, or you keep it in your back pocket, it would be page 10, Article 6.07, that talks about the town will provide or it talks about grinder pumps, but it didn't have in it who would purchase, maintain, and install and maintain the pumps. And so there's now a new policy that will clarify that issue. That's in the rules and regulations. So this is going to require a vote from us. Jared, do you want to add anything to the clarification of the policy?
I just want to clarify that if you notice, one of the things we changed on top was it said phase 1. We're doing that because with the current financial situations going with SRF and the DEP and everything, they're literally changing their policies rapidly. So this is just pertaining to here, and I want to make that clear so that way in the future, if it's something different, it's not because we decided to change it on a whim. We're trying to stay in line with current standings that the DEP or directives that the DEP puts out to us, and that's what this is in line with.
I just have one question. I can't find the policy. This is supposed to be a policy that we're checking today?
Yes, this is the actual policy, not the procedures or the details. This is just the policy.
This is all I have. It has,
Yes.
has
And
no policy written in it.
This is a policy. I'm not quite sure. what you
Doesn't
need.
say where they're used or whatever.
No, that's
Saying anywhere, anytime, anyplace.
That's in the actual, our policies and or our procedures that we have inside the thing. This is a what you guys had approved before, and mainly what it summarizes, or what we changed was, it was Sea Oaks had 4 grinder pumps that had to go in. We had it written in the policy that you were only allowed to have it for single-family dwellings. That's what kind of prompted this. So now it's allowing that it can be on
Multifamily dwelling.
multifamily dwellings, thank you, or mixed-use dwellings. So we left it more open for that to stay in line and hopefully cover more of the changes that might come down the line.
So what you
I-
have,
Hold on for a
In
sec,
our-
hold on for a second. It's the multiplicity potential here that you gotta avoid. It's, what you're trying to do is say, we're gonna give you a pump if you need it. End of story. That's what you're trying to say in a way that doesn't contradict and get you in trouble. So why don't you say that? We'll provide necessary low-pressure pumps for installations. You're gonna find one that you need more than one pump. Now you got an issue again. You can't do it. You're gonna provide the pumps for those installations where necessary. That's what the town agreed to. Never mind whether it's a condo, a house, a duplex, or a quadruplex, you're gonna provide the pump where necessary. Isn't that the policy?
Exactly what it says. That's exactly what it says, Joe.
Yeah,
No, it says you'll provide one low-pressure pump. And
Right.
that gets you in trouble again, because that building may need 2 or 3 by the time you get through with it.
simplex and duplex, single or
Yeah.
2 of them. That's what simplex and duplex means.
Yeah.
I got a daughter that lives in a 6-unit.
Yeah, it's, now a duplex will handle it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll handle it.
It's not a duplex. That's
but
all
it-
I'm
it
trying to
could-
help you avoid.
Yep.
I spent my life trying to avoid the lawyers, okay?
Yep, this covers
What you do is you
everything.
make an open statement, not a closed one. You do not put singular numbers on things if it isn't singular. And you're still saying provide one low-pressure pump.
So before we call
That
for
was,
a vote,
that's my point. You can drop it, do what you want.
perhaps this will clarify it. Before we call for a vote, if we change the second paragraph that says where a low-pressure grinder pump system is specified in the original sewer system design locations by the town engineer, the town will provide low-pressure, take out 1 and add low-pressure grinder pump system per property at no charge to the property owner. Is that more acceptable? Joe, we took the 1 out?
That was all I was trying to do.
Okay, so then what we would be voting on would be a modification of the policy as written in the second page, in the second line of paragraph 2, and instead of saying we'll provide 1, we'll just simply say we'll provide low-pressure grinder pump system, simplex or duplex type, per property at no charge to the property owner. Is that acceptable? Okay.
Easy enough.
So then may I call for a vote?
I make a motion, we approve as amended.
I'll
Second,
second it.
Okay, thank you. So we have so all those in favor of accepting this policy number 2 on the low-pressure grinder pump that simply states that where low-pressure grinder pump system is specified in the original sewer system design locations by the town's design engineer, the town will provide low-pressure grinder pump simplex or duplex per property at no charge to the property owner. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Any opposed? Okay. Any abstentions? The policy passes unanimously then. Thank you. Okay, so now we need to move on to the next item of the agenda, and that would be a discussion on a possible vote on the order of taking sewer grinder pump easements for Phase 2. And that was also provided in your packet.
I don't believe we're gonna use the word pumps again. This is easements you're talking about.
Yeah, I didn't understand that as well,
Easement just says we're gonna be given the rights
to approach your property.
to cross your property and do what we have to provide you service. End of story. We're not gonna isolate it and talk about sewer pumps again.
The question that I have for you, Jared, is, has this already been gone through our legal, and that this was a clarification that they wanted to put in there?
Actually, yes, the KP Law, our firm, actually provided this document to us. They've been going, working with the engineers and us, making sure they get all the maps, everything laid out. They assessed whether or not we were going to do easements or orders of taking, because we have to have a utility easement, and I will go into grinder pumps because this is where it kind of really became an issue, is part of the way to get SRF funding is we have to own, operate, and install the grinder pumps, which means we have to have the utility easement to be able to go onto the property if they have an alarm in the middle of the night. But it'll be a permanent taking for this, in these orders of taking.
So the language has been clarified through our attorneys, and that's what
Yes.
we need to vote on, so that, because this whole project is very complicated, and we need to, I think it's appropriate that we do ask the questions as they come up, but I think it's also appropriate that we get the answers as you raise them, and that we know, again, how complicated the systems are, what the rules and regulations that we're trying to follow in terms of the state and the town and the bylaws and conservation, all the other commissions that would have some governing power, and how we're moving forward with a brand-new system of wastewater in this town. So, given that as a premise, are there any comments or questions from any of the other commissioners about the easement?
I'm no lawyer. I approve that we accept this as presented.
I second the motion.
Excellent.
Motion's been made and seconded.
The motion's been made and seconded. May I have a vote?
Discussion.
Oh, sorry. Is there any discussion? Okay. May I have a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all in favor. So
Unanimous.
it was unanimous for the policy, for the order of taken for grinder pump easement Phase 2. That was the first one that we had. And you also have a list of all of the different easements and private ways that would be, in fact, affected by this order of easement. So moving forward, then we have, the next one is, again, another order of easement. So this one, so which one is private ways? One is just in general, and one is private ways?
Yes, so
So one is for public streets. So, for example, Quiniquisette Avenue and River Road, so this is what we just voted on. That was for the easements for the regular streets. And then the second one is an order of easement for private ways. And as an example, these would be streets like Buccaneer Way, Cutlass Lane, Musket Lane, Curtis Lane. So these are private roads that also would need to have an easement for approaching the property in order to do whatever is necessary, as Joe clarified, as part of the wastewater system. May I have a motion,
I'd like to make a motion.
I'll second that.
and will we have some discussion? I had raised a question, and I hope it's not opening a can of worms, that when we do easements, if there is anything that goes across the landscape, is the town responsible for it, or is it so that if we disrupt shrubbery or trees or whatever, what happens in terms of being able to respond to the homeowner?
we have to restore the property back to how we found it. So we've been doing a lot of work trying to find, there's some areas where it's topography-wise very difficult with retaining walls, and I mean, there's one house, the whole front of the property is nothing but a giant retaining wall, beautiful wall. So we spent a lot of time trying to figure out alternate paths to go in to avoid that, so we don't have to worry about replacing a full wall or go down a driveway longer, bring the pump actually close to the house. That's what kind of started the taking the utility easement going down into the property, because to put it up by the road, it just wouldn't make any sense. So we would come down the driveway, get closer to the house in order to prevent tearing up anything that could be expensive.
So this helps to answer some questions that homeowners might have, as we sometimes had before, as when people didn't know what's going to happen when, you come in to put the pipes in or put in the collection system. So this does begin to answer the questions for homeowners to say that if we disrupt it, then we will do our best to replace it. Joe, you have a comment?
One thing to protect this, we do take a picture before we dig.
Yes, we do pre-construction photos, and then we also have obviously photos throughout the whole construction period, and at the end, what it all looks like. So, and then it'll also be like in phase one where we've given this design, but the lawyer put in there so that way, if we come into the property and the owner says, hey, you know what, I really plan on putting a swimming pool here now because I'm getting rid of my septic, it is in the verbiage, we can adjust it on site and just provide as-built drawings afterwards to put with the easement on file.
That's very helpful for people to understand that.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, is there any other discussion? If there's no others, hearing none, may I have a call, making a call for a vote. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, and no
Unanimous.
abstentions. The policy, the taking of easement then will stand as by unanimous vote. And we have to have signatures from each of the commissioners on both of these easements. And since Catherine is indisposed, I will be taking the documents to her to get her signature today.
Are you going to take one document and have us all sign it?
Well, we do have one we'll do it after the meeting, yes. That we'll have everybody sign it, and then I'll take it to Catherine so that we have the signature. We just need to have it on one page, right?
Yeah, you have the original.
I have
with
the
you.
original.
Yes.
That'll be signed off, and then that way, everybody will be on that page.
Yep.
Okay, and then you can
Yes,
make
ma'am.
copies of the original. Thank you, Joe, for raising that. All right, and moving right along with the agenda, we shall have a story hour by GHD. And listening to our representative from our engineering consultants, GHD, is Sandy Tripp.
Good afternoon. Yeah, I told Meredith, I said, I've got a story to tell, so bear with me. So this presentation is going to be a little different than what I've usually been given, mainly because phase one is nearing the end of construction. So rather than, show you pictures of improvements, I want to summarize what's going on because there is a lot going on. So for this presentation, I'm going to be talking about phase one and the startup of your system, phase two and where we are in that process, and then also give you a little bit of a teaser for the Mashpee Wakeby project, which is just starting up.
Okay.
So feel free to interrupt me if you have questions, as always, although I might ask you to be patient. Oh, well, there you go. Okay, let me try this again. I hit the wrong button.
That was quick.
Yeah. Any questions? Okay. All right, so we're good. So we'll start with phase one activation. By activation, I mean, that means that you are going to actually say, all right, this system is ready to go and we're ready to use it. What do you need for that to happen? Oh, come on. So we're going to start with the plant. Where are we? Well, from March through April, as I reported last month, we've been going through a lot of equipment testing and a lot of training. That happened very fast because the MCCs came in later, so they had everything ready to go. And Jared can attest, it's been a whirlwind. The majority of the equipment has been tested, and a lot of the, if not the majority of the training has been done. And the best news is that the final piece of our puzzle, the MBR, the membrane bioreactor membranes, MBRs, they have arrived. So that's the last major piece of equipment. They are now, they came yesterday, they're installed now, so this is very exciting. On the collection system, I know you all know this, phase one areas, green and orange areas on that map, those are preparing for substantial completion. So what do I mean by substantial completion? That means the contractor is basically turning the system over to you, that you can take what's called beneficial use of the system. We're not there at the plant yet. We still have to go through a lot of testing and startup and training, but we are there for a majority of the collection system. The PLC programming happened for the pump stations, and very importantly, the DEP Clearwater test was held. This is where the state comes in and they watch not with wastewater, but with water, clear water, and they put the pump stations through their paces, and that did happen. We still have the blue area, the phase 1A, that is under construction. Basically, the piping is in the ground, and now it was cold this winter, so they did not work out at the pump station sites. They're back working in the pump station sites. And that project is well under control. It will get done on time, if not early. So, what do we need to activate phase 1? In other words, what do we need to happen to put the system into operation? Well, we need the plant, the WRRF, that needs to be accepted by DEP. And I will go through all of these steps. The pump stations need to be accepted by DEP. The collection system, not by DEP so much, but by the town. Okay? You need to have an operations staff. You need to have your system supports in place, and saving what you guys are really interested in till the end, we need to get our customers connected.
I just have a question, Sandy. What does it mean to have the collection system accepted by the town? I mean, what are we going to do about that?
Well, that's what I'll get to,
okay.
is the steps to get there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? So for the plant, got to have a place to treat your wastewater. That's the WRRF. We need it accepted by DEP, because DEP is the one that gives you approval to operate this facility. So for the next month, they're going to be installing the MBR units. They're going to be checking out. You remember this from Mark's presentation last month. This is basically the secondary, tertiary part of the process. These are the process tanks out here. Those MBR filters are going to be slipped right down into these two little basins there. We have the sludge or MLSS pumps pulling solids out of the bottom, and we have the permeate pumps that are going to be pulling relatively clean water out of the membranes. All of that equipment, including the blowers, that's also aerate the system, they're going to be tested. They're going to be checked out by the Veolia is providing this equipment. They've been on site for a couple of weeks. They're going to be here for a few more weeks. They're going to be testing the system, not just the equipment first, and then the system as a whole, and they're going to be training your wastewater staff on their use. We're also going to run some test runs of the Clearwater test, because this plant has to go through a Clearwater test as well. And I invite you all, please remember this facility is still owned by the contractor, so we will coordinate with them. We don't want anybody getting hurt or in trouble because they stepped in the wrong place. And this is the time, by the way, when people are more likely to get hurt. You don't have big equipment reminding you when you're in a construction site, but you still might have a piece of grading gone. So if you are out there, keep your PPE on, your protective equipment on, and keep your eyes open, and hopefully you're being escorted. But when we do those test runs, try to work with Jared so he knows when they happen. If you want to come out and see, before DEP's out here and just see what's going on, let us know.
Sandy, would you suggest that if we want to visit the plant, that who should we contact if we would like to go out to visit, to
I think
take a
you
look?
should contact Frank Woodfall, our PR out there.
And is he usually there daily?
He's usually there. There's
Okay.
days he's not there, but he can make it happen.
Okay,
I
great.
think Al has his number. Or
Okay.
Jared.
And it would be
can-
important that
can
Jared
reach out
also
and make
knows.
sure that everybody's okay with it. Jared will contact Frank.
Okay, terrific.
Or me. you
Okay.
know.
It's pretty exciting to visit the plant. I mean, that's
It
why
is.
I'm asking, so it's kind of nice to be there.
Yep. So the important thing for you to get you accepted by DEP is to have that Clearwater test, and now it is scheduled for March 20th. I'm not going to guarantee 100% this date will be met, but
You mean
we're
May
pretty
20th?
confident.
May
May
20th.
20th. Darn it. May 20th.
May 20th.
I wanted to know how it worked out.
Yeah, hey, we're there.
Sitting here waiting to ask you that question.
I corrected that in a few places. May 20th, so in about a month from now. And at that time, we will be, again, Clearwater. They're not going to let you take in any wastewater, at least not dispose of any wastewater without being approved. Yes.
Sandy, we did pump water into one of those beds earlier, didn't we? To see how it would
testing.
work?
For testing.
Yes or no? We did?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, what was the result of that test?
Well, we pumped them into, what we did was pumped them into the site, not the
That's what I
beds
said.
themselves.
Yeah.
When we built the beds, we screened out bad materials, but I can't tell you the numbers, but it was very, very good. These beds should exceed what they're rated for, and we were hoping that we could get DEP to accept a higher rating, but they're not very open to that these days.
All right. Way back, because this has been going on for 15 years in my mind, I talked to them, and they said, we're going to give you 3 gallons and that's it, until you can prove to us that you have an operating plant and you're using actual waste, and then we'll measure it again and we'll reset.
Yeah.
And I said, well, you're at 3 now. That's not going to work for us because we need more input into that area. Everybody understood that. Some people panicked, some didn't. The issue is still there, however, that when asked, the state has to admit that over in Brewster, and Barnstable rather, and in Falmouth, they did the same crap, 3 gallons, and they're up in some places, I think up to allowing 12 now. Was the 12 the highest number that you remember being approved, Jared?
Yeah, actually, yes, 12 is the highest, because I know specifically I asked them for 15.
Yeah.
And they said 12 is as high as they've gone, and it's too early to ask for 15.
Okay, but let us each understand that, so the next time somebody stumbles across the 3-gallon number and knows it won't work, they don't go panicking. That's just the way the state handles it,
Right.
okay? And we won't know for a minimum of another year how much they're really gonna let us do. And we can just keep opening pits in the meantime to make up for that.
They're going to demonstrate to DEP that the equipment functions. They're going to see things run. They're going to want to see the alarms trip, so we're going to stress the plant. They're going to make sure that communications functions, that our SCADA system's working, that we can communicate with the pump stations, and also that safety features are enabled. For example, if the power goes, we'll simulate a power outage, do all the emergency lights come on. They're going to do a thorough review. My goal is to get through that with no comments. And we will, when you achieve that, then they're going to say you're good to go. You can accept wastewater. It's a big step. May 20th. So the successful Clearwater test is required for DE approval to accept wastewater. Okay? Now, in the pump stations, they also have to be accepted by DEP. So next month, hopefully, we'll be completing the communication system. That's not quite up and running yet. We're still working with Open Cape to make sure the final T's are crossed and I's are dotted to get that thing hooked up. We need to walk through to develop a punch list. We're much further along on the pump stations than the plant, and that we issue substantial completion to the contractor to acknowledge that the town is taking over the pump stations. The DEP Clearwater test was held. It was held April 7th, and it demonstrated both of the Mashpee Neck and the Falmouth Road pump station operation. Equipment worked, instruments were fine. We had one alarm that wasn't working. We just need to demonstrate that to DEP again. And again, we weren't ready for the communication, so they'll want to see that when they come back.
May I ask another question? What does the communication function mean? Is it the communication between the pump station and the wastewater treatment facility, or within the pump station itself?
In other words, if something is alarmed, that you see it at the PLC, you see it at the plant, and somebody gets an alarm at their home. So if it's late at night, whoever's on call first on the
Okay.
line, if the pumps fail, they're going to get an alarm, and they can come out and check it out.
Okay, so it's a call system for security and safety if the system fails. It's not necessarily the connection between the pump station and the other parts of the system.
It's the whole system.
It's the whole system.
The
No,
whole
I
system.
understand now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The brains of your outfit is the SCADA system that resides at the plant.
SCADA.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I just realized that in addition to the PLC, you have a SCADA system also. They are separate? They're different manufacturers?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, so, yeah, we buy the PLC and it gets programmed, but the SCADA is actually designed by GSG, this guy Grady. And so he writes his program to work with the PLCs and how they operate. So he's spending a lot of time making sure when you, on the SCADA, you hit it on, it communicates to that PLC to say, go ahead and turn on. And so that's what he's doing right now, is all that integration. He actually has the screens all laid out, they look beautiful. It's just now making sure everything communicates as you turn it on SCADA.
So I wasn't sure I understood the question. Was this with the operator interface versus the?
Yeah, it's
the
two
entire-
different, yeah, it's
okay.
two different
The
companies,
equipment
different
comes
things.
with interfaces, so you can, if you're standing at the equipment, you can do things. But you also want the SCADA, so that, though, not only are you seeing it at the equipment, it's being signaled to the operations center. And so they can sit at a computer and go through the same screens and see what's going on.
Would you mind spelling SCADA for our
It
recording
stands for,
secretary?
Supervisory control
Supervisory-
and data acquisition.
Go ahead, say it again.
Supervisory control and data acquisition.
Yes, SCADA.
So what is it in the SCADA that's not in the PLC and vice versa?
No, the issue is that with the pump stations to the plant,
Those are
originally we were gonna do
programmed by us,
radio.
too.
We were gonna do radio, but now we with the Open Cape, so we got fiber optic, and Open Cape just laid the lines this past week. Now they gotta do the splices and then buy, and I can never remember the name of that piece of equipment.
Taxi box. It allows us to put a VPN, a firewall,
Yes.
so that if somebody's on the town Open Cape system, they can't. You don't want anybody. Nobody wants the other pieces getting accidentally, I hope, getting into their system. So there's firewalls there to keep, well, bad actors, but also, whoever might be up at town hall accidentally getting into something they shouldn't get into and hurting something.
So obviously, there's communication between the PLC and the SCADA, I guess?
Yes.
There is.
Yep, so there'll be communication with PLCs at the station to the SCADA system, which will be held at the plant. And then we actually have a laptop, a tough book that's also like a tablet that operators will keep with them when they're like on call. So that, let's say, something didn't open over here and they're going down there. In the meantime, we can maybe open up another gate to let the water flow out until we can go to there and fix the original problem. So it gives us that ability to respond quicker.
So is the control from the PLC or from the SCADA?
Control will be from the SCADA.
Really?
Well, we call the PLC, the PLCs are programmed by GHD. They're part of the SCADA system. The vendors provide operator, you can call them control panels, is what we would tend to call them, that are programmed by the vendor. Say the Veolia equipment, they've got an operating panel. We have communication between that control panel and what Jared can see at his desk. The vendor, the engineer, Jared, decide what level of control you want. Do you want to just monitor it at your desk so that you have to go down and look at the equipment? Or do you want to be able to turn off a pump? So it just depends on what type of control is recommended by the equipment manufacturer, by the engineer, and what Jared is this wastewater superintendent
I
wants
guess
to
you could
allow.
just say it's an interface.
It's an interface.
It's another method interface other than just local. Like in
But
the
very
old days.
important, the alarms go back to that place. They go back into this, what we call SCADA system.
SCADA.
And from the pump stations as well. So we're almost there with the pump stations. That'll happen by May 20th as well. So a successful clear water test is required for acceptance of the pump stations as well. Collection system accepted by the town. Here you go. So right now, we're finalizing the punch list. I believe they've issued substantial completion for the underground piping. If they haven't, That should happen in the next month. And the contractor will be out, cleaning up sites and handling whatever's on the punch list. So this is open to discussion today, but what we are recommending after talking with Jared and his, what he would like to do is that we recommend May 20th as the day that you allow wastewater to come into the plant or into your collection system. In order to be ready to allow people to connect in, so wastewater's flowing into the system on May 20th or later, you want to have your certificates of substantial completion at least in the works so that you're telling the contractor, it's mine now. Have your operations staffing plan so you know your operators are there. Otherwise, DEP won't let you operate anything. And coordinate with the plant itself so that when you pump water or let water flow, that there's not a big plug there not letting wastewater in. So that should happen on May 20th as well. Yes.
The initiation of the septic's water will be just from the apartment building initially. Is that still the plan?
Could you use your microphone,
No,
please?
we're gonna accept everybody at once.
Excuse me.
Yep.
How are you going to accept everybody at once? Because we've got 5, 6, 7 streets that are all going to be 90 days apart. They won't come in together.
I should say we're issuing the order to connect all at once, and we know it's going to take people.
All right, but your initiation of the plant will be from the apartment building across the street first?
Yes.
Hold on. She's saying no, you're saying yes, whatever.
Well, I met with
Plan.
Robert Biauer yesterday, and so they understand that, for example, Ash's Path Apartments, it's a 2-day connection period.
Right.
They know the startup date. They're going to go in there. We should get that one right away.
Yeah.
Sea Oaks is about a 3-week process because they're
Understood.
upgrading their system. And then Summerwood, he said he just had to have another meeting with whoever he meets down there to finalize that plan.
Okay.
So those will be coming in, but in the meantime, let's say Summerwood takes 3 weeks, it doesn't really matter. We're gonna allow the person on Ship's Lantern to be able to tie in if they can get somebody to do it after that, the 20th. So we were just gonna say, okay, only the condos, but we need to try to get as much flow as we can in there to.
It's going to take you a week to flood the system.
I do have a little bit further, but you talking with other towns have been through this, and I've been through this with other towns. If you try to sequence things, you're not going to get everybody.
No, that'll
hooking up.
never
So if you
work.
if you get 30% of the people in the first month, why not get 30% of a big number? So invite them all in, and they'll be coming in. But you'll have, if you have a percentage of 100 people coming in or a percentage of 400 people coming in, I want that percentage of 400 people.
This is just a simple request for information. How long will it take you to fill the entire system? You got all this pipe in the ground,
understand
you're
what
going to
you're
tell everybody they can hook up. With nothing in it, nothing's coming out.
Okay.
So
I am gonna go
the
through
whole
that.
system has to be flooded.
Well,
Is it flooded from the top down or from the bottom up?
can I run through that in a,
Yeah.
in a couple slides? Okay.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah, I'm going to get to it. Okay, so we do need substantial completion so that you can use your pipes in the ground, basically. All right, operations staff
Sandy?
engaged.
We have
Yes.
a question from Al.
I have a question. When do the warranties and guarantees kick in? Is that at substantial completion for the plant and the
Yeah,
pump
your
stations?
contract is written at the plant, which is the big risk for you. Not risk, but that's the big equipment. We knew this was a 2.5-year construction period, and I believe that it says that substantial completion starts either 2.5 years from the date of equipment receipt or 1 year after substantial completion, whichever's later.
Okay, whatever's later. Okay, great.
Even if your equipment warranty runs out, which it shouldn't, you are under a 1-year contractor's warranty period from the date of substantial completion. So for example, on the pump stations, when those are accepted, those pumps are under the contractor's warranty, as are your odor control and the building itself. If shingles start falling off, of course, buildings, they're under a longer period by law. But that contractor is going to support you for a year. The operations staff, it's important for us to remember that we do have to have people that are there, and DEP will insist that you have people who are qualified and under contract and there to operate your equipment. I put that little up there in case anybody is watching, and it might be a nice place to be at this new plant. So long term, you are going to be obtaining contractor operations for Mashpee for 5 years-ish?
Yeah, it's 5-year term.
Initially for a 5-year period. You probably know that you have requests for bids or for proposal that's on the street now. So this process has been in place, has been ongoing for a while. Questions are due to the town on April 18th. You did hold a mandatory informational meeting, and 3 firms came. So you'll get at most 3 proposals. Interviews are.
Before you say that, so the interviews, these dates up here, from the interview hold date and actually the question due date, everything's been extended 1 week. One of the questions was, can they get an extension of 2 weeks? We authorized 1 week for everybody to get everything in because of the amount of information there is, and one of the companies wants to do another site visit to clarify some information. And so we authorized them 1 more week. So I'll be doing that site visit next week.
See, now that happened in the last day.
It happened in the last
That's
hour.
how fast we're moving.
Last hour.
So the idea was that the award was going to be May 16th, so I guess it's going to be May, whatever 7 days, and 16 and 7 is, 23rd. And then you should still be under contract by the end of May, if not early June, okay? But that doesn't have your operators in place by May 20th, does it? So
Do we know how many operators we need?
So according to the staffing plan that we follow for the DEP, we're supposed to have 3.2 operators, so 3 operators. We have to have full-time.
24/7.
Available, yes, yes.
Okay, so knowing that this was going to keep us from having a Clearwater test at all, but let alone operate the plant, for the May 20th target, got it right this time. Oh, come on.
Uh-oh.
Here it comes.
Okay.
Come on. I didn't even get to the good stuff yet, Jared.
No.
Did it just cut out on you?
Jared, I hope you got somebody else
There we go.
running your
Let me try
computer.
running again.
I'm going to be 24/7.
Excuse me while I.
This is like my PC.
How least to get it back?
Why? It's only 25 years old.
Does it say Tandy on it?
Just like you.
Right.
Oh, I know what the problem is. I got to plug in.
Do you have a
I do.
power cord?
Okay, let's see if we can do this before it dies on me. For the May 20th target, we do have a staffing plan where Jared will be your chief operator. He is a grade 7 operator, so he's well qualified. And Weston and Sampson, which is currently under an operations contract with the town, will back up Jared. So you're ready, so you'll be ready. So that staffing plan needs to be approved and is required for the town to activate. System supports in place.
Who activates the town plan?
Pardon?
The DEP
Needs to be
will
activated.
approve
Who activates it?
it. The DEP is who approves if that's a good enough plan. So I've already put up a memo together laying that out and just waiting on a response.
System supports, just so you know, we're thinking of everything, and there's not everything is listed here, but the biggies are chemicals. That's being pursued by the wastewater management. Sludge hauler, to be able to take your sludge off. Again, pursued by wastewater management. Tools and equipment, being procured through the construction contract. Some furniture, being procured through the construction contract. A rate system, you've established that, it's published. And also utilities, which will serve the plant and the pump stations, electric, gas, water, fiber, so forth. Those are in place. Can't treat without chemicals. Customers connected. Okay, so you've been doing your communication plan. It's in place. You need to notify your customers of the date the town can start accepting wastewater, and what we're recommending is May 20th. That's what happens when you do something at 10 o'clock at night, Jared. And then you notify, and I would recommend that you get the notification out now, just to give them time, because they can now have a date in mind. They can coordinate the work with their contract people who've been coming out to them. They know you're serious. They can schedule their contractors and get prepared. You talked a bit about the 3 big users. I believe all of them are working with Robert B. Auer, a contractor, to do those connections. Even though I don't think the town is under direct contract with RBR for this work, they are our phase 1 contractor, and they're going to work with us to get this done. And then you also have some grinder pumps out there, and that grinder pump, those have been, the contract for procurement is almost ready to be executed. So we did get our bids in and have selected the E1 grinder pump system. Again, the May 20th target. Large users are your primary focus right now. Summerwood, Sea Oaks, and Asher's Path, you've talked about that. And then the individual residents, per your policy, have 90 days to get on board, which means the possible perception of the few grinder pumps you have, they might be told a little bit later to get activated because we don't have the pumps yet. They should all be on board by August 18th. Let's see. So getting back to the flows and what we need to start up the system, there's 2 types of startup for the MBR units, those cassettes that get dropped. That's the biological process. There's enough flow to do what's called hydraulic startup, and then enough flow to actually start treating. Okay? 10% of the capacity of those membranes are needed for hydraulic startup. That is equivalent, those large users will get that plus. We are requiring 60% of the capacity of those membranes to be seen by the membranes before we start demonstrating performance, in other words, treatment. That is, I forget the number, Jared. Is it all but 30, is it 65% of your customers?
For the
Yeah,
startups?
I forgot. I've got it written
65.
down in a memo, and I admit that the number is escaping me. But it's not all of your phase 1 customers, but it's a good percentage of them. Now, you may not get treatment. You will get treatment. You're going to have biological BOD removal or BOD activation. You're going to have suspended solids removed. Your nitrification, denitrification will not be in full effect until you're, I'm sorry, until you get the flows up, excuse me. Until you get the flows up to about 60% of their capacity. But we can do that during the warranty period. What we want to do is get the hydraulics moving, get the what's called seed, the bugs into the system, so they can get fed, and start to grow and create a biomass. But then we want to have enough flow to keep that viable. So sorry. So does that answer your question, Joe?
No, that wasn't my question at all. What you've got are a lot of pipes in the ground. They're all empty.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say arbitrarily, they're going to hold 500,000 gallons of water. When you turn on these people to tie up, to start the flow towards the processing plant, it's not going anywhere until all those pipes are filled. So I asked, how do you fill the pipes? Do you fill it with sewage, or do you fill it with fresh water? Do you fill it from the top, or do you fill it from the bottom?
Okay.
I'm just curious.
Okay.
So that when somebody says the pump station isn't running, I know there's a vacuum down there because we never filled it, okay? So what I'm curious is how you fill the system so that it can function.
You are absolutely right on the force mains. So what the pumps are pumping from the pump stations is a force main, and those flow full. They push uphill, and yes, it takes time to fill them. I'm going to guess they're pretty full right now because we went through this clear water test. So they're sitting with just water in them
You got
right
all
now.
your street mains with water in them now?
Just the pressure.
Just the force
Just the
mains.
pressure ones?
Just the force main, because we had to do the clear water test.
Yeah.
And as we were doing with the DEP, I realized we're pushing against the plug right now. So all that water is sitting in the main right now. So we
Yeah.
shut it off. Then we end up closing the gate. So it's actually sitting in there right now.
Yeah.
Now, those force mains enter into a manhole,
Right.
and then it's gravity. Once it goes gravity, even if one house connects, it's going to get to the plant,
Understood.
okay? So it's not a long time.
All right. Then, second question. How long does it take to establish your biomass?
That's a good question.
14.
Arbitrary, you know. There's no magic here.
And there's
Because if
no-
you
yeah,
think
it
it's
is-
20, it's going to be 40. If
I
you
know
think
that
it's
we
40, it'll be
could,
15.
we could seed it and speed it up, or we could let nature go and let it grow organically. And I believe we're going to seed it.
Of course you're going to see it, yeah.
And, but the good thing is we're starting off in the summer. So it's great season to grow buds.
Good temperature, yeah.
So, Jared, you were about to
The
say
life
your
cycle of a
rule
bug
thumb.
is to grow the bugs is about 14 days to 3 weeks roughly for the life cycle of the bugs. So we're going to be seeding that. We obviously are not going to give so much seed to treat all the flow. We're just giving enough to start the process and let it naturally grow. But usually between 14 days and 3 weeks, you have a good enough population to actually do the process.
And as it gets better and better, the improvement will be the nitrogen will start dropping in the outthrow. You mentioned membranes plural. We're only starting up one line. Oh, you're going to start 2 lines? That was a question.
Yep, because we have to get them both going. We have to test them both out. We have to show that they both treat. So yes, we will be doing both trains. Yeah, both of those lines are going to be full of wastewater and training. Now, if one of them you got to do some maintenance, easy. You just valve it off so that it all goes through the other one while you do your cleaning.
I think what he was getting to is we have one MBR going, but it's 2 trains, so it's one,
there's 2.
1.1 and 1.2. So that's why she said
Yeah.
it's plural.
There's 8
Trains.
channels. Stage 1, this is stage 1, it's got 2 channels. So there's
Yeah.
2 cassettes going in, one in each channel, and we're
Yeah.
going to start them both up.
Right. That's why I use the word plural, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
When we do phase 2, we're going to do the next 2. So you'll have 2 and 4 in place
4.
and 4 waiting for you. Okay? So exciting.
It is.
But May, not March. Okay. The GIS system, I think Catherine and those who've been working on the website will appreciate this. We have been working with Jared behind the scenes on coming up with something that will help you through this. I'm going to show you phase 1 right now. This will help support communication with the system. We don't have the record drawings in there yet because we don't have record drawings, but the design drawings will be, oh, thank you, will be linked to your GIS, and we can also work with the town. If you want this on your web page, you can have somewhat live access to your GIS on your web page. So we're compiling data for you. This is your system in GIS, and it's showing a part of the system showing the manholes and the pipes, and these you can color code them by what type it is. You can see it's a little hard to see, but the heavy red is force main, the light red is low pressure, the heavy green is gravity main that's collecting other branch sewers, if you will. The light green is there, and equally important, especially for your people who are tying on, is if they go onto this and they click their property, the little dot on their property, we are tying in your tie cards and your sewer maps in there. So if they are trying, whoever they've hired, the engineer they've hired or the site contractor they've hired to get them connected, can go on and pick on that property and pull this down. It's going to reduce the effort for the local here in town hall to get records for these people, but it also make it easier for them.
Sandy, I have a question.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
If something needs to be worked on for maintenance on the system, will that be visible on the town system at the same time when that happens? Just
You mean at the plant? No.
Oh, it won't.
You mean at the plant?
Yeah, but not on the map.
I wouldn't, but
Okay.
Jared?
Just wondered.
Not a good idea.
Not a good idea, no.
Well, I've seen it before, so I just asked.
Huh.
Okay.
Not unless you want the reporters coming. This is routine maintenance can suddenly become a headline. Okay.
Yeah, that was a problem, yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm not showing you everything that can be done. I'll show you a little bit more in a bit. This is what the schedule we reported for startup back in January. And pointing out that the Clearwater test, touchy, page up. Okay. The Clearwater test was scheduled to happen in early April. And it's really happening toward the end of May. The primary reason for that is that Veolia, who is providing the equipment, said, oh, I need 3 weeks to get these started up, not 1. So that was a big part of it. And we're going to give them the time they need to start up. Now, when I go 90 days from May, I got, into June, July, August, that you would be actually, hopefully, with your hydraulic testing gear and moving toward treatment. That's in the middle of the performance test phase anyway. So I don't think it's a huge delay for this team, but it is starting up a little later than we anticipated. Any questions on the activation before I move on to phase 2? And move on.
Okay, nope, thank you.
Okay. So this is the phase that's under design, and this is getting exciting fast. We are rapidly approaching the bid phase for this project. Our design is wrapping up on 6 contracts. Remember, the town decided to go with 6 construction contracts. The first one is plant improvements. This is much smaller than what we did the first time. But we're bringing in equipment, 1 sludge tank, and as equally important, a new administration building for your wastewater team. 2 is the pump stations to support phase 2. There's 6 of them scattered about. And then we have 4 linear contracts. Contract 3 is entirely low pressure in the Pirates Cove area, so that means grinder pumps and small pipes in the street. And then 4, 5, and 6 get progressively larger, as it turns out, but one more in the south and 2 in the north. And they are combinations of gravity and low pressure systems. So you're going to see quite a few grinder pumps go into your systems for phase 2. In order to get the first key milestone of bid phase is getting permission to advertise from DEP, or the SRF people at DEP. We have to have final drawings for these contracts. I think we just submitted our 95% plus, so they're going to be satisfied on that point. But then we also require, and this is important, easements, which are currently in production. Okay? The anticipated date for those to be complete is May 15th, mid-May. The groundwater discharge permit modification, that is coming from DEP. That is not what Joe was quite alluding to. This is allowing these beds, we're not increasing the capacity of the 4 beds that were constructed. We're adding 4 more beds. And what Joe was also alluding to was, you know, now that we prove the operation, maybe we can increase the rate. We will certainly try, but they are not as open to that as they used to be. And part of that is, I think we talked in the past about mounding. When you put groundwater in the system, are you creating something that is going to impact a wetland or a pool? And we study that. And that was brought up by some of your citizens as well. We make sure that doesn't happen. We do have some state and national, if you will, permits that are in the works. Mass Historical, the MEPA, that's a Massachusetts Environmental Permit, and the National Heritage, which is your rare species. The Mass Historical is your impacts to historical, I'm trying to think of the word, features, including impacts to the tribes here in Mashpee. Those are in the works and anticipated by May 15th as well. And then we still have to go, we've been working with the local conservation commission and other local permits. We still have to formally go before them, but that should happen by May 15th. So, permission to advertise. Because of that groundwater discharge permit modification, May 30th at the earliest. Okay? Remember May 30th. Once we get permission to advertise, then we can start bidding. So I'll tell you right now, SRF deadline, when you get on their IUP, they expect you to be under contract by June 30th. If you look at the schedule, when are we under contract? August. So, the DEP deadline, you know, that permit was not in our control, and that permit went as well as can be expected. So it is important that it come in. But we expect, and that's an aggressive bid schedule. We got it extended to August 30th, and this schedule meets that August 30th deadline. You can see that it does take 4 to 6 weeks out on the street for these contracts. We're going to have 7 bid openings in that 4 to 6 week period. We have to open 2 sets of bids for the plant, that's why. Then we quickly need to look at the bids, come up with, as a team, we're going to come and look at the alternates. We're going to be bidding alternates. This protected your bid in phase 1, if those of you who were here recall. And come to you with a recommendation for what to award. And we would ask, we present it to you and request that you either comment on it, make a modification, approve it, hopefully accept it. But that needs to happen fast. So I could see this becoming a special meeting for you if it doesn't time well with your sewer commission meetings.
So this would be to try to make sure that we're in line for the SRF funding?
Yes, you have a $96.1 million
Right.
fund.
And it has to be ready to go as of the August 30th?
What you need at that time is your bids in hand, your recommendations award from GHD. You're saying, we're going to award this because Rodney was going to be sending letters, 6 of them, please award this contract. And also we'll be giving a total budgetary for that $96 million. It includes these 6 contracts. It includes your engineering agreements. You're going to have budgets for your police details that are out there. You're going to have a budget for utility coordination. And that needs to be, if it's over 96.1 million, you have to have additional funding in place. So we're going to make it 96.1 million, okay?
Sandy, just refresh, why are we doing 4 linear contracts rather than 1? You'd think an
a lot-
economy of
it's a-
scale or something.
It's a very lot of pipe. It's a big project. The total of these 4, somewhere around 40 million. And there are contractors that can do that. Even the big boys on Cape, that's a bit much that they want to take on. They can do it, but to take it on and when they got other work, they may not want to put all those eggs in the basket. So we want to allow some of the smaller contractors to come in because they can do the work. So provide a smaller piece to spread the work around and get better, hopefully have a more competitive bidding environment.
So
Okay.
you could have a case where you might have 4 different contractors for this?
Absolutely.
Is that desirable?
It's a challenge.
Coordination.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Yeah,
a challenge.
there'll be a lot of coordination, especially when you're doing areas like South Sandwich and Katuitt Road, because you obviously don't want to work on them both at the same time. People will be really aggravated going to work in the morning. So there'll be a lot of that coordination. Who can work on this road? The other one has to do side roads, and then vice versa. So there'll be a lot of coordination, but
Yeah.
doable.
We do have, we've been talking about this for a long time. We have the systems in place to handle this. I think you've got a good team.
There's nothing here that prohibits OR from coming in and getting all of them because they come in with the best price.
Anybody could come in
Correct.
and win them all.
So all this did was open the door.
More.
Didn't guarantee
opportunity.
we're going to have a bunch of vendors. What it did was say we got more potential vendors.
What protects you from getting a contractor overloaded is bonding capacity of that company
Next.
and their business acumen to not do that. So there's a lot of work on the streets right now. There's a lot of big projects on the streets that right now you could very well be, I think you might see some activities from off-Cape contractors.
Oh,
Yeah. So we would ask that you are ready and able to come on in and present to the sewer commission. Be what's the word I want? Quick about providing guidance to our team.
May 20th.
Yeah. Then we still have to go through request authorization to award. Meanwhile, we'll be pulling together the packages. We get the notice of award, the contract signing. I don't believe that you have to sign those contracts, but you approve them. And it just takes time to get things, so this is an aggressive schedule, but it's definitely doable. And the other thing is I didn't mention before, but to prepare for that authorization to permission to advertise is to sign the easements. Please be efficient with that too. I don't think you have to meet for that, but be prepared to come on in and sign them. When they're prepared, they're going to need to be executed by this body here.
Okay.
We're going to
Well,
sign
the-
the easements today.
Those are the ones we signed
That's-
today, that was signing today.
That's 2 out of will be some more coming.
There'll be
but
more
those are the
coming.
2.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, thank you. I didn't know how that worked.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. So we've
So
got
that's
2
the
so
bidding
far.
schedule. That's what I said. Sign the easements. Approve the recommendation to award. And also approve the professional services contracts, which are being discussed right now. So there will be 3 contracts, one from each of the 3 firms for the services through Phase 2. Meeting the August 30th deadline is critical, and it requires coordination from all of us. Looking ahead on Phase 2, the GIS system that we've been working with Jared on will support communities communications with the community. So you're going to see some improvements over Phase 1 or some additions. I think in the past you've been having static maps on your website. We can set it up so that those maps can be GIS maps that are somewhat live. So from week to week, they can see progress. This is a case. We just built this based on hypothetical or dummy data. Say, let's just assume we're in this area. And you can see, I think the purple represents, I can't read it, but the purple represents planned. In other words, you're going to have a sewer in the future on this street. The red is showing coming to you soon within the next 5 weeks. We're going to be here in this case. And the green is we're done. Your sewer's in the ground. We're also showing parcels that are outlined. If, let's say, this might not be shown to the public, your choice. But internally, we could look at this map and say, all that property has a big red mark around it. That means somebody's asked a question. We need to figure something out for somebody. We're going to be getting what we call property owner requests in. I want to move the lateral over here. I don't want to be on low pressure. Can you get me on gravity? This type of thing. And these will be formalized. They can be formalized through the GIS and responded to by the engineer and the wastewater department. And then they'll turn green. And then, yeah, go ahead.
So I did have a conversation with Todd just before this meeting. And so what we're doing, instead of putting this on the Mashpee interactive GIS map, which has got a lot of, like, you go to the left there and you have to click all those boxes, Clay, our coordinator here, said if we add any more, we're really going to bog down the system. So what we're doing is we're going to do is an independent map on our webpage. So people don't have to go look for it. They just go to our webpage, they click on it, they'll be able to see the map. It'll make it a lot more user-friendly, in my opinion, if you're looking for that type of information. And then, like we always talk about communication back and forth, and a lot of times people have the same questions. We'll be able to keep that on this page, and owners can go on there, click on it, make the comment, everybody can see it, and we can share that information. So it's more live.
All right, can we put a draft of that on our website and then shelve the discussion until we see what we've been able to bring up? Because there's a lot of questions can't be answered or issued now.
So we're gonna actually get it up on the web page beforehand. That's an operational thing. And it'll have minimum information. Then I will come to the commissioner and say, hey, this is what we can put out, but a lot of it we kept in the background, other than this is where the pipes are, this is where my house is, and this is how I get my tie card and my sewer plan. They'll have that immediate access. I mean, one of the things we're trying to do also is, as people connect and we issue permits, those, like you see how it's green and yellow, everybody be yellow, but as you connect, it'll go green. Kind of the thought process is peer pressure.
Let's see how involved it evolves.
It evolves.
It hasn't evolved yet,
Yeah.
so let's stop discussing it until we have a draft, and then you can come back with our evolution and discuss it in kind. Could we go to the next
Yeah,
subject?
and I wouldn't recommend having people click in and put questions on their property. That means that, let's say somebody calls Karen.
Excuse me,
start the
I
form.
don't want that to happen. You can't start recommending that people recommend. It doesn't work. Let it go, let Jared bring it up, then we can discuss it or highlight it, okay?
Sure.
Don't start suggesting things that just burden people. We don't need that right now. We got an awful lot of things to get done. Could we go on to your next subject, please?
Mashpee Wakeby. So as you probably know, the project was included in the 2025 IUP listing. That project received funding through SRF, so congratulations. Not many projects did. So this is a big thing. Jared mentioned that funding is way down. I think he did anyway, but it is. It's way down. The goal is to get a 90% design done by October 25. That's quick. So right now, this is planned to be a satellite treatment facility with local groundwater discharge. I think everybody knows where that is, up near Sandwich, right? The capacity to be about 30,000 gallons per day and could potentially include flows from Sandwich, and it would result in total flows of 60,000 gallons per day. So where we are now is we're finalizing a report with a conceptual design, and we're preparing a design contractor, so we contract for your review so we can go into final design. So it has progressed.
Sandy,
Yes.
how is the relationship with Falmouth going? Excuse me, Sandwich.
I think Jared can answer that better than I.
It was good. At first, weren't really sure about anything, and then more recently, they're very interested. So we are having communications just to make sure everything works out. Nothing's signed yet, though.
And Sandy, when is the target date for the final design?
Winter of next year.
So it'll be winter of 2026?
Yeah, we're kind of going through the cycle that we went through on phase 2.
Yep,
We're on it on this job.
okay.
So we need to be executed by June of 2026. So hopefully the design would be ready in the late winter, February, March of 2026.
So that the actual work would start in 2027?
No, I think it would start in 2020,
But you're
late
saying,
2026.
but you're saying winter of 2026?
Next winter, your design would be put on the street and bid out to contractors.
2025?
2026.
2026, okay.
Yeah.
Winter 2026.
You know, I'm having trouble with March and May. I guess I
Sorry.
could get my years bad too.
Okay.
Okay.
And so then the work would start right after that those bids go out? Or-
Yeah, it takes a couple months to get them under contract, but yeah.
Okay.
Do we know what? No, you don't know yet, okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, ask Jared. No, I would be happy to.
I have a question. If our next meeting is scheduled for May 15th, that's cutting things a little tight. So do we need to schedule, because the information to the homeowners has to be read and approved? And if we want people to start getting ready to hook up by August, we need to have information out to them, communication that has to be done. So is May 15th going to be enough time to have a meeting before the 20th? Or should we schedule a second meeting for May, or should we have 2 meetings in June? I need to have a timetable to get some of these things approved for you, or at least reviewed.
Yeah, I would think 2 meetings in May.
So this is an operational item, like I said before. So it's not necessarily approval that we'll be requesting with the notice to connect, but what I'm big on is I'd like your input, definitely.
Right.
That doesn't necessarily mean we have to have a meeting. I could always email a copy out, let everybody look at it, make their comments. When we had Weston Sampson do this initial rough design, they also sent us the Word document so we could do track changes. And that way it'll speed up the process of going back and forth and trying to finalize this document. So we're hoping it would be done by today, but at the beginning, we're finding a lot of information that we really want to focus in on it. And I always have to remember that I look at something and go, oh yeah, that makes total sense to me. But I'm looking at it as somebody that's a trained wastewater operator. So I have Ashley and Karen going, that makes absolutely no sense to me. And that's when I said, okay, we really need to sit down and dive into this, because I got to always remind myself that I'm thinking
But
a
we'll
different
also be getting questions from residents, and we need to be prepared to give them the information. So if we don't have the information, or if it hasn't been approved, I feel a little uncomfortable with that.
Let's
There's
have
a lot-
Jared give us a draft. So this
Okay.
is a matter of progression of learning for all of us.
Okay.
We can't just get together and learn. It doesn't
No,
work that
will
way.
we have a draft by May 15th, is what I'm asking then?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, absolutely, by May 15th.
Okay.
It's just,
That gives you-
Answer his draft by May 15th, if he can get it out in another week or two.
I plan on having it by mid-next week done. So,
Okay,
well, at least to you, done to the point where I can get it out to you guys and feel comfortable that you're not going to spend hours really digging into it. You're going to look at it and go, okay, this is pretty good, and not have to really dig into it.
Just
So that's the
mark it a
intent.
draft, and
Yep.
everybody can use it as a draft, make their own suggestions, and get back to all of us.
Send out a draft to the individual commissioners, just make sure commenting is done separately.
Is someone in the back with a question?
yep.
Or
Please
you're
come
just
forward.
stretching?
Please come forward and
Hi.
let us know who you are and be at the microphone. Thank you.
Hi, sorry I was late getting here, so I didn't sign up. But Susan Dangle, 762 Cotuit Road. This is all exciting news. I mean, it's great that everything is coming together. I just, I sit here as a resident, and I get it because I've been here a lot. But when you say you're going to start flipping the switch on May 20th, that's in 1 month. And you're not going to have another meeting until 5 days before that. And I'm just a little worried about the resident. And I know Phyllis is in this phase, and this gentleman here. What do they have as a communication packet? What do they have as a means of coming to ask questions? I mean, we say the website, and you guys have done an amazing job of getting information there, but it is cumbersome and difficult. If you click on sewer phase 1 is coming, nothing happens. Nothing happens. So I'm just, maybe Jared's going to go over that, but I just wanted to make sure that you all have an opportunity to see what's going out. Maybe it's right here. Just to make sure that you've got the bases covered for the residents. These 450 residents are going to be your ambassadors for the rest of everything we have going. And if we screw it up, then it just, the chatter that's still going on Mashpee Message, I can't explain it to you. People have such misconceptions about the fact that they are paying so much money for the sewer when they haven't. We've talked about this before. It's not in there's a whiff that they've been paying for over a decade, but other than that, nothing's hit them. And they think that it's very onerous, and all of the different things that they can do to get funding and help and loans and tax credits. Is there a way of doing some kind of Zoom meeting or public meeting for phase 1 residents to come talk to you all? It's probably in your next thing you're going to say, but as you were deciding whether or not to have another meeting, I would 100% recommend it. Thank you.
Okay. So I know people can't see it really on the Zoom or anything like that, but we have got a draft, and this is, like I said, the very early draft of the notice to connect. It sounds misleading, like it's just going to be a piece of paper that says, hey, you can connect. And what it actually is a booklet. It gives a little bit about the history. It's funny you mentioned the financial part, because that was one of the key things I keyed in on. It just had one option for financial assistance or anything. We have several options, so we're going to add those in there. But it will lay it all out and should answer just about all questions, except for maybe something that might be significant to a home that is maybe down a hill or a little bit farther away from the road and there's more concerns. So most of it will be laid out in this manual. We could absolutely, after it goes out, I don't think necessarily it has, it could be a commissioner's meeting, or it could just be a notification. We've been in contact with the Mashpee TV, and they're actually really anxious for us to get things to them. I'm just trying to be cautious, because if we say it's coming soon, some people think that's tomorrow, some other people think that's 6 months from now. And when you tell them, no, it's not tomorrow, then they get all upset because you got them amped up for nothing. And that's what I'm trying to avoid. I want to make sure that the information we give out is as accurate as possible with as minimal speculation as possible. Like trying to get the date for the 20th at the last meeting, we didn't have that date. Even up till 2 weeks ago, I didn't have that date. So we were talking about a phased approach, and I'm like, okay, if we tell everybody this date and we're really not ready to open on that date, now that's an extra 2, 3, 4 weeks of sludge I have to haul, which is expensive to haul, and I'm trying to avoid that. So it's not a matter of withholding information, it's just making sure we don't give out inaccurate information.
So the question, Jared, was that would you be ready with this information by May 1st?
When I get this out to everybody next week, and then if I can get responses back relatively quickly, absolutely could.
May 1st is going to be the first the first Thursday in May. So would all the commissioners then be able to make a meeting if we go back for at least this month for our two meetings a month, so that, yes, we would have had that, yes, if we have questions, and we would be able to share it online or share it during TV. Would you all agree to that? I would be a little bit nervous about us waiting until May 15th before we say, okay, this is all ready to go, but I don't know what I'm talking about 5 days before it opens.
No, I agree. I think we should propose an additional meeting in May.
It all depends on whether you'd be ready.
We can make first week of May.
So May 1st?
We'll get this out to, yes, I'll
Get it to
get this
us,
out
and
to next
then-
week, and then we
And
can
then we'll
schedule that
discuss
meeting.
it with any questions that we have come May 1st. And then if we've also gotten questions from residents, we'd be able to share those questions as well and get some clarification, because I think people need to be reassured and not be afraid. Joe, you had a comment?
Yeah.
Yes.
Roughly how many pages is in that little full brochure, what you've created there?
This one goes right now out to 20 pages. A lot of it is like, which I think at the beginning,
Background information.
background information, a little history of what's going on, kind of what we saw today.
Right.
You really don't get into the meat and potatoes until you get about page 12, 13, page 13.
Why did you
So
ask,
that's
Joe?
one of the things we're trying to minimize is that whole,
Would you say we can get that down to 8 pages, yes or no?
I would say no, I would say 10 to 12 pages is what I'm hoping to get it down to.
All right, let me make a simple statement. You send out an 8 to 10 page document, just going to cause more confusion anyway. All right? You deal with the exceptions, not the reality. That's the way to deal with this. So put out a shortened form, and when people have questions, they can be addressed individually. We can't have a meeting and address 425 separate inquiries, because it isn't going to work.
Hold on a
Okay?
second,
So just
Joe.
take the best shot we can with a
Catherine, could you
brochure.
mute, please? Go ahead, Joe.
We just take the best shot we can with an 8 to 10 page unit for all of the people that are going to be affected initially, the 425. Okay? And we should all look at it here and correct anything that looks bad or out of place or the language is confusing or whatever, and vote on it and then distribute it to these 425 people. Otherwise, you got a zoo here, and you're going to create more of a zoo if you have a 30-page or 25-page document. I'll tell you why. We couldn't even come up with the rules, except the rules had been in existence in Chatham for 6 months or 6 years beforehand, and they'd been chiseled down, and it still had 62 pages in it. So that's not the way to go here, all right? Susan, I respect your opinion and your point, but what it is what we've got to do is get 75% of the people, okay, with a good idea of what's actually happening, because we cannot get all the information to all of the people all of the time. It doesn't work. And the harder you try and do that, the more you're neglecting the 75 that will understand 6 pages and can function with it. And they will help their neighbors because they understand it. You got to keep it simple and short. And we can do a draft, okay? And amongst us, that draft can be functional to a degree, but it's only going to work
I agree. I
for
agree
half
with you.
or
Jo- I
3/4.
totally agree with you that it should be short. It should be very
Succinct.
succinct, and here's what's going to happen. But the backup for when they do have questions, maybe you don't have the event, but or a meeting, but when they do have questions, they've got to go somewhere that is going to get answered. If that's Karen or whoever's going to answer
You
it.
give them an email address to address their question to so that Jared could get it without being bombarded by phone calls.
All right, email's fine. I mean, whatever you're going to
But-
do.
but
Just
we'll
I
have to-
hadn't seen or heard about that at this point in the meeting, and it sounds like you're going to flip a switch on May 20th.
We are.
No.
So
That's the only thing we can do.
It's aggressive, but it's good. I still think it's good. And then at the end, I do think you should have them all over to the plant for a tour. Those 450 people.
I'm
or
sure that we'll
420.
be setting out,
Something like
as the process occurs, there'll be communication strategies, there'll be ways of people seeing what the plant is about, what the plant, and to have idea of how it's all operational. So we have to, first of all, get the information out to the residents, and then we have to make sure that there's a system of communication between the newspapers, the television, and our website.
Right.
Yes?
I have a question for Jared. We've been working on this plan since 2015, and I know a lot of what's in the draft is going to be background information. Is there any way to maybe have this document backed up with something on the website? So you would have a summary of the background, and then for further information, go to the website, and you'd have the fuller multi-page document laid out that way, to try to compress it so that I think people are not so much worried about what's already happened, because they can't do anything about it anyway, but they're worried about what's going forward. And so I'd like to see the stress of any details about what's going forward, rather than what's been in the past, which, if I think right about this, most of the information about background has been on our website for like 10 years.
Yes, so if you actually look at our, I've been talking to IT, very few people actually look at our website. We have a lot of people complain about it. I don't know what they complain, they've actually never been on it. They do track how many people go on it, and we don't get a lot of hits on it. We are, in an attempt to try to promote that, so I was gonna wait till it's my time to talk, but part of this whole thing is, at the back is designed that you can go like this as the homeowner, because you're not going to want to read all this, and I know that, because I'm one of those guys, you don't catch me in the first paragraph, I'm kind of done. I'm too ADD to stick with it. So at the end is where it goes down the checklist, but what it does provide for you is, on the checklist, I can go back and say, oh, who do I call about my septic plan? Oh, here's the Board of Health's phone number right here.
Right.
I got to get I got to get an inspection, which is going to be handled by the installer, but let's say, homeowner's trying to be their own contractor. There's the number straight to the building department so we can get a scheduled inspector out there. So this is just your supporting documentation for ultimately that final page off the end. We're also building in one of the pages like things you don't flush. Why is that important? Because we do have Airbnbs, we do have people that rent, so it'll be designed, and I didn't like the design they gave us here. I actually want something else where, again, one page tear out, I'm an Airbnb, I could stick it to the fridge, might let my renters come in and say, make sure you don't flush these down to us. So it's that type of stuff. Like I said, they gave us the first draft, we said a little bit of background, they went into phase 1A, and I'm like, well, we're dealing with phase 1, we need to cut all this out, we don't want to confuse people, and that's what we're trying to evolve through right now. And like I said, that's why having Karen and Ashley, because again, they're not used to doing this, is really looking at like, well, that doesn't explain to me, I don't understand what that is. So, and that's what they're going through it. Again, like I said, I want to reiterate, I know you're the commissioners, but this is an operational document. I do want you to look at it, but at the same time, everybody's got an opinion, and we see it with one of our condo areas, whether or not we put a fence, not a fence, does it encroach the whole area? Everybody's got an opinion, we got to stick with something. It's operational, but I do want to keep you as informed as possible and do want your input. But I got to still get it out in a certain time period.
There is a sense of urgency
But
here.
my concern, Jared, is that as I started to read through it, is that it has a number of things that says sewer commission this, sewer commission that. If we're responsible for it, then we really need to know what's in it.
And that's exactly why I said it's a draft, and those are the things we're trying to eliminate and pull out. This was written by the engineers.
I understand
We're
that,
pulling
but
it out.
if the sewer commission is mentioned in it, if we're going to be getting questions, because it is part of the whole system, and we're doing some regulation of it, it would be nice to have us be as knowledgeable as possible.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's why I'm giving it
But
to you.
that's a supporting document.
I would agree.
What
I
he's
would
going to
agree.
have to come up with is a single page.
Well, I understand
he's already
that.
got.
He's already got that.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Jared.
So here's a single
Does that satisfy
page.
your question?
There's 8
Okay.
questions that you should be aware of, and in each case, there's probably going to be a web address for further information,
Exactly.
not a phone number.
But
no phone numbers.
additional information will be online.
You're
It'll
not
be
literate on a
accessible.
computer. Too bad.
Okay. Any other comments? Thank you, Sandy. That was quite extraordinary, and I appreciate your effort. It's kind of exciting to know that we're almost there, isn't it? I mean, this has been going on for a while. Joe and Al, you've been on the commission since forever. I've been on the commission, I think, 3 years. And it's kind of exciting to know that it's finally coming to fruition, and it's kind of great to be there. And again, thank you to our engineering consultants and to our wastewater department for bringing it to this point. Okay, next brief report from the chair. I just want to remind you all that voting is going to be important. The town vote is going to be May 10th, that there's early voting now, April 28th to May 2nd, and there are several water articles that need your support. So may I ask you to make sure that you're talking to your friends and neighbors, and that we're helping people to get out and to get their vote in and out. Also, I just want to remind you, as I had mentioned last time, that the Cape Cod Commission had done an enormous amount of work in coming up with the freshwater initiative. That's something that's really important to read. It's something important to support. It's quite well done, and it talks about freshwater across Cape Cod and the difficulties with it. And then may I also remind all of you that you need to do an individual conflict of interest Zoom, that it's a training that you have to do online, and that most of you have already signed off on the sexual harassment document that needs to be done. And then just one other shout out to the Wampanoag tribe for this wonderful fair that was called Honor the Earth, which was last Saturday. Actually, you represented us beautifully with having a very interactive children's exhibit. Save Mashpee Wakeby Pond Alliance was there. Where many of the groups that support our environment were there. And it's kind of like talking to the choir, or the choir talking to itself. But it was extraordinary to see the numbers of people who came through the fair and how many people are involved with helping to save our environment, the fresh water, the salt water, the woods, the wetlands, everything that we're all here about. And it was quite exciting. And then just a reminder, there will be at the tribe, the council building on May 5th, there will be another, workshop.
May 3rd.
May 3rd, I'm sorry, not May 5th, May 3rd. What's the name of it called?
It's the Source to See.
Source to Sea, and it's going to be a workshop on, again, water and the sea.
Yeah, it's a workshop on the NOAA grant funding that the town is involved with the Quashnet, the Upper Quashnet, Red Brook, and Mashpee River. So we'll be discussing all three projects.
Right,
at that
because it's
event.
important that people are aware that that there's a lot of money that's been afforded to Mashpee for our wetlands, our waterways, our boat ramps, and these projects are continuing to go forward, and it's quite exciting that Mashpee's been at the forefront of all of it. Okay, so I'll turn the agenda now over to Jared for the wastewater superintendent update.
All right, thank you. So one of the just first things I'm going to post to this evening, we're going to have our installers training. So everybody that's been on the Board of Health's approved installers list has actually been notified. Hopefully they'll all be there, as well as we've had quite a few inquiries from people that are currently not on that list, but now intend to be on there, and they're going to start the process by coming to our training tonight. After tonight, they'll all be posted to the webpage accurately tomorrow, hopefully, to say this has all been the training, and people would start reaching out to if they want to. So that's this evening starting at 5 at the library. One of the things we're working on right now is we've heard tours quite a bit today, so we're going to start out with trying to do staff tours in-house. One of the things we have to worry about is it's still a construction site, so having people there on a Wednesday just doesn't work, so we're trying to schedule something with Waterline to do on a Friday where town staff members can come and they don't all have to have hard hats on and everything else, and then seeing how that goes and how long it takes, trying to figure out how we want to implement getting it open to the public. People want to see what this has all been about, and we totally agree with that. As well as Mashpee TV is going to be coming, did we confirm Monday? Monday, to start getting some more stock video of where we are now, so then we can do another program like we did a few months ago. So that's the tours. We are working on the punch list items or putting together the punch list items for the collection system. Right now, I'm going through just making sure that people have contacted us with things like, hey, my driveway got a little messed up when that excavator rolled over it. Making sure those items are being taken care of for the homeowners, making sure we seed properly, put plantings back into place. A lot of it's just verifying pre-construction photos to what the request is. One of the other things we've been working on a little bit on the side has been in the town, we have a lot of private treatment facilities which fall under DEP discharge permits. We have one that's coming up looking at that there's going to be a lot of low-income housing is the intent to be put in there. So I wanted to make sure, because the discharge permit said 10 milligrams per liter discharge. I'm like, well, we're doing it at 5 and you're countering us. So we've had some talks to DP. They've actually written it into the permit, but you just have to do a lot of math to realize that's what it is. So we're just trying to get clarification or see if they will clarify in the permit that it says 5 milligrams or below, because the treatment plant is meeting that standard. They absolutely are, but we just want to make sure it's memorialized, so when it comes time to recalculate how much nitrogen we have to remove, we're always going to be held to, with those private facilities, that number. So I'd like to have it memorialized as a hard number.
Which plant was that?
I prefer not to say at a public meeting because I
It's
don't
public.
want some.
It's public information.
Okay, so it is Mashpee Commons is currently going through their renewal. And the
Right.
permit meets the renewal, they're meeting the standards, everything's good. We just
Yep.
want to have it, make sure, so when we go ask for our plan, that nitrogen credits, that we can easily go say, hey, yep, see, we're getting this many credits for this place, and it doesn't look like we're not.
Right.
And that's all it is. We just want to make it easier to read, but the plant's doing a phenomenal job, so it should be a no-brainer. We just got to go through the process.
They were at 3.
They average 2.8.
Yeah.
So they do a great job. So we just want to make sure it's memorialized so we can get those credits. I'd hate to
Yep.
lose it.
Yeah, make sure they get credit for what they do.
Absolutely.
It's the only clean facility we
Doing a
have in
great job.
Mashpee.
And that's pretty much what I had because everything else I wanted to talk about, we've either touched upon or had discussions about. So I got a lot of lines crossed out. So
Okay,
it's
great.
simple.
Joe?
I have one thing, and it's just in support of the chair. We have 2 documents that every one of the members of this commission have to sign today. Okay? And the third one that has to be turned in is the one for Cody.
Right. Okay,
So get your Cody document out and bring it up to the table, and she's going to give us the one to sign, the 2, Phase 1 and Phase 2
well, they're the easement. The
easements.
2 easements. There were a number of different correspondence from people within the community that had been taken care of by Karen, and part of them were concerned about construction and operation, and those have been addressed. Okay. I have no further business. Does
I
anyone
move we
else have any
adjourn.
questions or comments? Would you like to make a motion, Mr.
I'd love to
Toole?
make a motion, we adjourn.
I
And-
second.
Okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And may I have you then bring me the